Former presidential candidate Mitt Romney throwing some support behind Senator Ted Cruz, announcing he will vote for him in the Utah caucus on Tuesday, but won't go as far as officially endorsing him just yet. What does that mean? Well, Romney claims that Cruz is the only candidate who's able to defeat what he calls Trumpism. But is that too little too late? Here to discuss our political panel this morning, Caitlin Huey-Burns is a political reporter for Real Clear Politics. Boris Epshteyn is a Republican strategist and former communications aide for McCain and Palin presidential campaign. And Lisa Booth, president, High Noon Strategies and contributor at the Washington Examiner. Nice to see all of you this morning.
Good morning.
So Mitt Romney, you were a supporter of Mitt Romney.
I was in 12.
Vehement supporter of Mitt Romney.
A surrogate.
Surrogate. So coming out, looking at him now, throwing his support behind Ted Cruz, will that move the needle at all?
In Utah, it may move the needle for Ted Cruz because obviously Mitt Romney is very popular in Utah. He's a Mormon. It's a state with a large Mormon population. He also led the Salt Lake City Olympics. So it may help Ted Cruz a little bit in Utah. It will not do anything nationally at all. Nationally, if anything, it helps Donald Trump because, again, it shows that the establishment, whatever that establishment is ignoring the voters. So in states like Arizona, where Trump is leading by 16 points, and 12 points, in California, 16 points, New York, 52 points for Trump. It's only going to help Donald Trump.
Does it help Donald Trump? Because what his game plan, though, is, it seems, is that he wants to sort of have Ted Cruz steal some delegates away. So in some of these that are not winner-take-all caucuses and primaries, grab some of these delegates up so we're headed for a contested convention.
Well, you've got it. That's exactly what he's trying to do. What Mitt Romney's trying to do is game the system. And what he laid out when he gave that speech laying out the indictment of Donald Trump is he was laying out a strategy to try to deny votes from Donald Trump in the hopes that this goes to a contested convention. That's what he wants, and that's why you saw him campaigning with John Kasich in Ohio, because he thought John Kasich was best positioned to defeat Donald Trump in Ohio. He sees the same thing in Utah, that Ted Cruz is best positioned to deny votes from Donald Trump in Utah. So that's what he's trying to do here. It's to be seen if that's going to work, because there's been a lot of criticism that the anti-Trump efforts need to unite behind one candidate to try to deny Donald Trump the opportunity to get that majority vote outright. We
were talking about this earlier on the show, but it's as if the GOP establishment is saying, you know, I know there are these pesky little people out there called voters.
Right.
They have a say in all of this.
Right.
We want to kind of alter the system a little bit. Let's take this to behind the scenes as a brokered convention. Will it work?
Right. Well, it won't work if Donald Trump gets the necessary delegates, the 1,237 delegates. If he reaches that threshold, I think it'll be virtually impossible for Republicans to then say, nope, you don't deserve the nomination. We're going to have a contested convention. I do think, however, if he doesn't get the requisite delegates, that they do have grounds for perhaps contesting it at the convention if he doesn't get the necessary delegates on the first ballot. But it looks like he is better positioned now than he has been before to actually get the majority of delegates. So I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago, but after the contest last week, and we have more to go on Tuesday, I think he's on his way.
What about the fact that Mitt Romney is not endorsing him?
Well, that's...
I mean, come on. I mean, is that a little wimpy? I mean,
It's a thinly veiled showing that, well, I like you in Utah, but when the contested convention comes out and if people like me enough, maybe Mitt Romney will be the nominee. And Paul Ryan's playing the same game.
It's like
a sad game they're doing.
Picking two people to go to the prom. And so, like,
did you see Lindsey Graham talking about? Did you see Lindsey Graham talking about Ted Cruz? It was so pathetic. Well, I really disagree with Ted Cruz on everything, but I kind of like him, so maybe I will support him. Lindsey Graham.
It really underscores, yeah, exactly. It underscores the really difficult position that Republicans are in right now. I mean, either way you game this out, whatever way you game this out, the options just don't look good for the party.
Well, just the establishment Republicans, right? We as a party look great because we have so much enthusiasm behind Donald Trump.
Well, and first of all, what does it mean to be a Republican anymore? Because, you know, Mitt Romney's quote is, today there's a contest between Trumpism and Republicanism. What does it even mean to be a Republican today?
Well, and I think that's the big question here. And to the point, just to put this race in perspective, you have someone like Senator Lindsey Graham who literally said the choice between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz is like being shot or poisoned. And now he has come out to endorse Ted Cruz. So that just gives a glimpse into the interesting dynamics of this election cycle so far. But that's the big question. You know, what is the Republican Party? What does the Republican Party represent? And in some respects, this race right now is sort of a fight for the heart and soul of the Republican Party, because you've got the candidates that are so split and the different fields or the lanes of republicanism where they are. You've got someone like John Kasich, who very much represents that traditional establishment lane. You've got someone like Ted Cruz, who's your constitutional conservative, limited government. And then you have someone like Donald Trump, who really represents this populist wing of the Republican Party. So it's going to be very interesting to see this play out and what that means for the Republican Party.
I want to get your take on the money before we wrap this up. A few seconds left here. $63 million spent so far in anti-Trump ads. $20 million spent in Florida. That didn't help. That didn't help Senator Rubio at all. Is the money going to help here in the end?
I think it hasn't before. I don't think it's going to help in the Republican primary. Where I do think it might make a difference is when we get to the general election, and we've already seen Democrats start to pivot to that general election.
I agree that it won't help in the primary, but I think it will not help in the general either. This is getting anything negative about Trump out there, like it did for Obama versus Hillary in 2008. So now, when it comes time to November, these hits are going to be old news. They've already been out there. It's only going to be good for Trump, only positive from here on out. So it'll be good.
Yeah, anytime he's on television. Right. Needle goes up.
Exactly.
Guys, great to see you this morning.
Thank you.
Great discussion. All right. Anna, over to you for some headlines.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz announcing he will vote for him in the caucuses in Utah on Tuesday, but he didn't endorse him. Romney says that Cruz is the only candidate able to defeat the front runner. That would be Donald Trump. Is it too little, too late? Here to discuss this, our political panel, Caitlin Huey-Burns, a political reporter for Real Clear Politics, Boris Epshteyn, Republican strategist and former communications aide to the McCain-Palin presidential effort, and Lisa Booth, president, High Noon Strategies and contributor at the Washington Examiner. Lisa, to you first. Romney says he's going to vote for Cruz but doesn't endorse him. The most obvious explanation is perhaps he expects he's still in the running to be installed as the Republican nominee at the convention. Do you think that's right?
Well, I think this is what Mitt Romney's MO is. What he's trying to do is game the system. So essentially what he has said and what he laid out with his indictment of Donald Trump is for voters to vote for the candidate who could take votes away from Donald Trump. That's why he campaigned with John Kasich. That's why he's now turning to his support for Ted Cruz in Utah. But the irony of this, Tucker, is the fact that Mitt Romney is the very person who helped set the table and set the game that Donald Trump is playing better. It's the Mitt Romney types that set the game. They set the debate schedule. They set the calendar.
Right.
And Donald Trump is the one who's playing the game better.
As Peggy Noonan writes in a brilliant column this morning in the Wall Street Journal, for Trump to succeed, a lot had to fail, including the Washington establishment. Boris, let's take 3 steps back. The Republican Party is obviously changing dramatically. It will be a totally different party by November, no matter what happens. For the good or for the bad, do you think?
Definitely for the good. And the establishment, whatever that amorphous
so
establishment
Trump has been good for the Republican Party?
Absolutely. It's expanding the tent. It's reaching out to those blue-collar Democrats in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania. It's expanding the Republican opportunity all over the country. And people like Mitt Romney, people like Lindsey Graham don't realize it. Maybe they realize it, but they still, for some reason, don't want to embrace it. We need to coalesce around Donald Trump and then know that he's our best shot in November, not just for the presidency, but for the down-ticket races as well.
Coalesce around Donald Trump. My sense as a Washington resident is there are an awful lot of Republicans in D.C. who really will never vote for Donald Trump. Do you think that's right?
I think that's right. And I think for as many people as Donald Trump is bringing into the party, perhaps as many are exiting the party. And we'll see in November, if Donald Trump is in fact the nominee. And I actually do think that he is on his way to securing the necessary amount of delegates. We saw last Tuesday him do better than expected. We have another race, a couple other races this Tuesday, and so forth. So I think the path for a contested convention is actually narrowing.
Right. This may all be moot. So an amazing interview, Chelsea Clinton, and hasn't gotten enough publicity in my view. A couple of days ago, she said, our campaign, my mother's campaign, is affirmatively for giving Obamacare, subsidized federal health care to illegal aliens.
Well, it's mind-blowing. And look, this is the irony of it, and what is so hypocritical about Hillary Clinton is the fact that she's flip-flopped on so many issues. And there was a time when Hillary Clinton said she was adamantly against illegal immigration, and now she wants to give them free health care. So I think that's just exactly who Hillary Clinton is, in the sense that she has flip-flopped, name it, from gay marriage, criminal justice, immigration. I mean, name the issue, trade, and she has flip-flopped on it. She's been on every side of every issue.
It's totally true. Maybe the downside of Trump is all the drama that we're watching with the wall and his rallies obscures this metamorphosis that's going on the Democratic side, where Hillary Clinton has become not the person she was. She's very much more left-wing.
Well, no one knows who she truly is. She's been in politics for so long, just a scripted candidate, sort of like Marie Antoinette of Republican or Democrat politics, where she's out there saying whatever the tone of the world of the day is. And now Bernie Sanders has pushed her so far to the left, she's getting issue spotted by her own daughter, which is very sad. But what is useful about what Chelsea did is it's a window into what Hillary Clinton and the Clintons really think.
Is there support for this, giving Obamacare to illegals?
I think the immigration issue is actually one that she arrived to on her own. I don't think this is an issue that Bernie Sanders has pushed her on. He has definitely pushed her on trade and economic policy for sure. I think this is an evolution of her own. I do think at this point Democrats are looking at, and Republicans too perhaps, at kind of a base election. I think one of the smartest things the Democrats have done this week is really focus on the general election and assume that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. He is totally, you can't prepare for him. He's totally off script and will be a very big contrast to Hillary Clinton.
Democrats make
it's a positive for Trump, though, because, again, she has never had to go off script. And he's done his whole career
we're
successful
completely
going
out
off
of time.
script.
We could go on for an hour.
We could.
What a great panel. Thank
Can we?
you all. We can in the commercial break, and we will.
We'll keep chatting.
Another black eye for the